Welcome to the Movie Talk Show with Dave D.C. Callari from DC Unboxed and from the Screenwriter's Room, the screenwriter himself, Rob Alvarenga. Now, here is your host, Joe Zapata.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Movie Talk. I am Joe Zapata. I'm here with my team, Dave D.C. Callari. What's up, Dave?
Fellas, what's going on?
And the screenwriter, Rob Alvarenga. What's going on, man?
Fellas, what's up?
We got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about Scary Movie. We're going to talk about Lanterns. We got another Ghostbusters talk. And to start off the Ghostbusters talk, I actually wanted to bring up something on sad news. Actually, Jennifer Runyon, at 65 years old, she actually passed away. It was very sad. She was actually one of my, I was telling Dave, she was one of my big time first kid crushes I had. You know, she passed away at 65. And it was just revealed she had a battle with cancer, actually. They just actually revealed she was battling a little bit brief cancer. Dave, you're our Ghostbusters guy. What do you think about this news about this, Jennifer Runyon?
Listen, I mean, we've been losing people like flies, and it's normal as life goes on, you know, but I feel like we just get hit in waves. And it's unfortunate because one, she was very young. It's always unfortunate when someone like Robert Duvall, right, had a full life, made it to 95. Like there wasn't much left for him to do, right? But 65, she'd become, as I understand it, like almost like a fixture on the con circuit over the last many years. And
yes,
so many people on some of the Ghostbuster boards I'm a part of just posted all their pictures that they had taken with her over the years at any of the cons they'd been at, and everyone said she was so sweet and such a delight. And obviously everyone remembers her and her role in Ghostbusters, and then obviously she had Charles in Charge, and she was just one of those staples, one of those celebrities that were like, yeah, she was great. I remember everything I saw her in.
Yep. I saw her at the Chiller maybe about 3 years ago. I didn't go up and say hello to her, but I did see her at the Chiller. Rob, what did you think about this news? Jennifer Runyon, 65, very young, passing away.
It's it's sad and unfortunate because it's like, she's taken. She doesn't she succumbs to, with cancer. And, that's not it's like it's everything's shortened. It's like, this horrible sickness takes her away from finishing out what would have been a full life for her. And I think that's the thing, that when it comes to like this sickness, when somebody passes away from something like this, it feels, it feels wrong. It's like it's 2026. Are we any closer to getting rid of this thing forever? And then we keep seeing people that we know, and then also celebrities, fall to this. So in that respect, that's what's makes it sad. And again, I always when it comes to these passings of these actors, I like to point out some of the other works they've been in. Obviously the Ghostbuster appearance in the movie. That's what's gonna be remembered, because it's one of those major moments in her career that she's part of. But she's been in Charles in Charge, like Dave said. I was kind of looking at it, and I remember I was looking up her career. There was this 1984 movie that I remember watching, Up the Creek, which was a real one of those typical 80s comedies that it's like Meatballs, or whatever, those camp sleepaway type of movies, stuff like that. So, and she had a big role. She had a major part in that role in that movie. And so it's like, you start looking back like, oh wow, she's been in more stuff than you remember. So, I'm glad to see that she got to have, it looks like she had a pretty full career, and so anyone that's interested, look at what she's been in. You'd be surprised to know what she's been a part of. And for that, you applaud her that she actually made it work. It wasn't just a cameo. She made it work, and she made a career out of it. So, that is satisfying for, I'm sure for her, for family, and that allows us to remember her.
Yeah. Very sad news. We our condolences to the Runyon family. Just very sad. Let's stay on the Ghostbusters topic, because there's a lot of big news that's coming out in the Ghostbusters world. So according to the Daily Show former head writer, Elliot Kalan, he's going to be producing, and he's also a screenwriter of 3 major Ghostbusters. One's a movie, animated series, and an animated movie for Netflix. One of them, actually, the film, which actually kind of broke, the name of the film is going to be Ecto, apparently, and it's going to be told from the ghost perspective, which I thought was really interesting. One of the TV series is actually going to be running around Walter Peck running for mayor, which actually I thought was, oh, that's okay. You know, like I said, Dave, you are our Ghostbusters guy here. So I actually like this idea with the Ecto perspective and the ghost perspective. What do you think about this for Netflix?
So I didn't hear the name that you just mentioned, but I know that was his name Jeff Schneider.
Yes.
Who actually has, his track record is pretty good.
Mhm.
So I'm sure there's some truth. There's some truths in this, either whether it was this is what it was going to be called and isn't going to be called that anymore, or this is actually what's going to happen. If they're giving us 2 to 3 different flavors of Ghostbusters going forward, whether it's the animated movie, the series, and a live action movie or another type of movie, fine, go for it. You know, I just there's such a microcosm of the fandom though, who still, if you go on some of these message boards and you just happen to say, hey, Ghostbusters 2016 is better than Ghostbusters 2, people lose their freaking minds. So I'm not sure how people are going to react to like a Ghostbusters story told from the perspective of the ghost, but it's something completely different. But also, let's not forget, like, we almost got something very similar way back in the day towards the end of the Real Ghostbusters run with Slimer in the Real Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
There was like, I think the show ended up being like an hour and you got the 22-minute regular episode and like a 15-minute Slimer based episode. So we've kind of had that already and it did fine. So if they can make this interesting, why not? Like, just give us a different swing. We can't stay with the same original guys. Like, just have to move it forward. And I think with the possibility of the thing in the mid 90s leading up to Walter Peck's mayoral run, I think it's great. Like, I was rewatching some episodes of the Real Ghostbusters and some people love it, some people don't love it. But even if you just watch it, like, that show did a really, really good job of really fleshing out each individual character. Like
100%.
Egon was cemented more as the science guy. Ray was even more the enthusiastic, like, great partner to Egon. Venkman ended up being less of a creep and more just like the funny guy. And same thing, like the everyman, like he was the audience. And I think they did a really good job of expanding each character, giving them a really solid personality. And we got to see all kinds of one-off, like, monster of the week episodes for a couple of seasons. Like, give us more of that. And maybe, you know, whatever happens with Stranger Things, was it Tales of 85? That might be a good precursor to, like, what kind of audience is out there for this.
Yeah. And actually, I think it was Jeff Snyder who actually mentioned the title. I actually saw him mention the title on YouTube or whatever. He's the one who thought it was going to be Ecto from the ghost perspective. Rob, you also heard this news, a lot of stuff from Netflix, Ghostbusters. What is your take on this whole show?
I'm curious. I was really looking into the articles and, you know, what they have put out there. So evidently, this whole idea of having a Ghostbusters either movie or series from the ghost perspective has been a thing for a while. They've been trying to launch this thing for years, evidently, and for whatever reason, one reason or the other, it just didn't work out. So now we're at a point where that you're going to go ahead and do that. For me, you know, not, you know, I love Ghostbusters, but I'm not the deep, you know, into the deep fandom like Dave is. So what I would just question is, if you're going to give me from the ghost perspective, are you telling me these ghosts are going to have proton packs and PKE meters as well? Are they going to be using that equipment, or is it literally a ghost version of the Ghostbusters? Because if that's the case, I just got to see. I got to see how that works, because that's very weird. But you know, it's the realm of the occult with the Ghostbusters. So it could be fun, you know, especially if it's animated. I mean, is this more of like, you know, is it more of a kids kind of centric thing? Because from what I'm reading, they want a lot of these shows to be of the same flavor as the latest movies in Afterlife and Frozen Empire. So, you know, that alone, I'm like, okay, that sounds like it could be interesting at the very least, but it's going to be some heavy lifting because it's animated. So I'm really curious to see what the vision is. I'm open to it. That's bottom line.
Okay.
Because the concept is, like Dave said, they're taking a known commodity and they're trying to do something different with it, as opposed to kind of like regurgitating what we already seen. And for that, I'm always going to be a fan of. Like, yeah, go for it. Show us what you got.
Yeah, we'll see. If it does from the ghost perspective, I wonder if it's going to be trapped in the containment unit and say, okay, how am I going to get out of this goddamn thing? But who knows what they're going to do?
Right.
I would liken it to maybe Beetlejuice, right? Where the ghost is like not like the Beetlejuice character, but we saw he was like the antagonist. He was the antagonist protagonist. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
You could look at the Maitlands as like the Ghostbusters. So we got to see the debauchery and like the hauntings or whatever this ghost did, and we know that the good guys are floating around somewhere. We just have to see what they're going to do.
Yeah, that would be really good. You got a good point. Yeah, I'd look.
There was some released concept art that looked almost like what were those puppets called in the 80s? Spitting Image. There was a picture of Vanquish. And that stuff is not happening because I think it looks terrible. But there is some concept, like some really fleshed out concept stuff floating around out there. I didn't like it. I don't think it's very good. But this has been an idea for a little while.
Okay. All right, guys. So tell us what you think. Leave a comment. Tell us if you like this Ghostbusters idea. And we're going to get on to our next topic, which is Scary 6. They dropped the trailer. I was never like a huge scary movie guy, but I mean, I enjoyed them. They were kind of funny. I watched the trailer and I did see both the Red Band trailer and this one. Pretty funny, Marlon Wayans is pretty funny, and it is dropping on, I think it's June 5th, the same day as He-Man. So that's kind of interesting. I didn't think one of them would move, but we'll see what happens. So, Rob, did you see the trailer? What did you think of Scary Movie 6?
I did see the trailer, and my initial reaction, my reaction actually changed as I kept watching the trailer. At first, I'm like, all right, come on, guys, give me something good. I'm starting to see a lot of like, regurgitated style of humor. I mean, this worked in, this is not the 90s anymore. Yep. Take it in. And then as I kept watching, when I got to the end, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm in because it's like that's part of the shtick of this whole franchise. They're really gonna try and cram every single horror movie that's been released in the last year into this thing. Yeah. That's what from Megan to like all this, all the ones that you're gonna recognize too. I wonder if they even try and touch on Sinners, which is could be interesting. It's just it really is like a no holds bar. Like Wayans are like trying to really announce to the world like we're back, to take back our property, and we're gonna give it to you the way it should be. And so if anything else, it is pure Wayans. So we're gonna see if that's that still translates into today. There was definitely some funny moments in the trailer. So I do expect to have more than a handful of moments in the movie to be just flat out funny where you laugh out loud. So you know what? It's part nostalgic. It's part like, okay, I see where, what they're really going to go for again here. And a lot of like the returning characters, yeah, it's the package that you expect. So I'm in.
Okay. All right. Dave, what about you? What do you think of the Scary Movie 6 trailer?
I'm curious if Rob saw the same trailer I saw.
Okay. So what do you think of it?
He seems very, very favorable to it.
He's a horror guy.
Yeah, I know. I remember seeing the first. I don't think I've seen all of them. The first one, the second one, definitely. I remember liking them when they came out, and I don't know if it was a product of the time, but I just feel like some of the stuff is just real heavy-handed, like the pronoun joke, and then the racist Republicans.
Yes. Yep.
Like, I don't know. It just feels like a little heavy-handed. It's like, is this what the whole thing is going to be?
Yeah.
There were some great moments in the older ones, like "Take my strong hand," and when Tori Spelling is asleep and she gets the blowjob in the cheek or whatever. Like those are some funny moments, but I don't know if we're gonna get back to that. I'm glad to see. I'm glad to see them take it a way again, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if the whole thing is as heavy-handed as a few jokes in the trailer. I think it's going to fall really flat. if it brings back some of what made the original scary movies good, it might do better. But also, they worked at the time because think back when they came out. It was Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, like Final Destination, like those things were very prevalent in the zeitgeist at the time. And I don't know if it's going to be the same. And I just don't know if it's going to be as smart as like you guys. I know both you guys have seen Hot Shots Part 2, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Charlie Sheen is crossing the river and he's having the internal dialogue with himself, and then he hears like another internal dialogue, and it's Martin Sheen, and they cross, and as they cross, they're like, "Loved you in Wall Street." Like that's a really great joke, and you can kind of understand it if you've never seen Wall Street. And I just don't know if the writing is going to be like as good as that it was. You know?
Yeah.
Oh,
Especially in today's world, you know.
I was going to say that you could guarantee that writing's like not going to be that strong, to be quite honest. Because I'm with you. Hot Shots Part 2 is like that's a pretty genius movie in my opinion with the writing. But just to play off of what you're saying, I'm just going to tell you right now. Either you're going to be a fan of this thing or not, because even back then, if you really rewatch those movies, they were always heavy-handed. They always really like just in your face kind of thing. And some of the things that I remember that were really funny, laugh out loud, you really couldn't put that in the trailer because it was just like you can't just have a ghost blowjob in the trailer. It's like you can't. Some of the other stuff you saw, like
That'd be a clip, by the way.
Right, like Mr. Man, remember from the first one, that scene. If you remember that scene, I remember the whole theater was like, "What did I just watch?" So I'm hopeful that it's saving the best for the actual movie experience, but no, don't expect any real quick, like high concept comedies or real great, moments like that they just described, because I don't think the Wayans are writing this thing, and that's just not their style.
Yeah.
Did they write the original ones too, or no?
Yeah, they definitely were part of it. Yeah, I think I forget what the team that made Airplane took over in Part 3. Yeah, but the first two are all Wayans.
Yeah. I mean, let's see what happens. June 5th it drops. I would like to ask Marlon Wayans, where's White Chicks 2? Because I always liked White Chicks. I thought it was very funny. Do a sequel for that. But he says it's very tough to do all that makeup, so we'll see, what happens.
Come on.
So June 5th or June 6th it opens, and it goes against He-Man, so we'll wait and see. All right, guys. Our final topic, and this one's kind of like a little bit of a controversy, a little bit. We got St. Patrick's Day coming up, and everyone's going to be wearing their green, right?
Nice. Apparently.
Yeah.
Nice.
Except for DC. Me, Green Lantern is the third favorite superhero. Batman, Superman, and Green Lantern. I always was a big Green Lantern fan. And we had the Lanterns trailer drop. And I'm going to be honest, I did like the trailer. I did like the buddy cop thing. However, can we get a piece of green, like a green tree, a green leaf, a green piece of grass? Very dark, very dim, nothing like two. And then the costume. And look, you can take liberties with characters. I'm fine with that. Wolverine is a great, Hugh Jackman's a great example of Wolverine, and he's the best Wolverine ever. He was, they made, liberties with him. However, the costume, with the ring, I always said the ring was part of it, not hanging up in a closet. The ring made the costume, and usually when they flew, the ring was that glow around them. Now, maybe, like I said, I didn't see the whole series, so maybe they're going to explain the reasoning behind the costume. But I just brought up here just to show you guys. Here's the costume that they showed on the show, and here it is. I don't even get, besides an emblem, I don't really get a Green Lantern vibe. I was hoping it would look something like this. To me, this is more of a Green Lantern style. I like that would be pretty cool. But again, that's what they gave us. The trailer itself was good. I did enjoy the trailer, but again, not crazy about what they did. A little bit more green would have been helpful, and the costume was a little bit disappointing. But I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to see it. So, Rob, I'm going to start with you. You saw the trailer. What did you think of the trailer, and what did you think of the costume and everything else?
All right, I'll start with the costume thing first. I'm a little confused. If it wasn't that we had never seen a Green Lantern in this new DCU before, and we saw this first, I don't know if the reaction would be as jarring as it's been. Yes, people have still been pushing back because I agree with you. There's, the Green Lantern costumes are, they're iconic.
Mhm.
They're uniform cops, space cops for a reason, and that's spacey versus like what you're seeing in the other one, which is like I don't know. To be honest, I'm not even sure how I could even describe it, but it's definitely going for more grittier thing. But back to my point, we saw Guy Gardner in Superman. We saw a Green Lantern already. We saw that Green Lantern has his will projections, his ring projections,
Correct.
bunch of green, all that stuff there. The costume was, part of like the whole Justice Gang stuff. So we kind of, I think we kind of glossed over that.
Hmm.
But still, everything else was all Green Lantern.
Hmm.
So now you've given us this version of lanterns, which I get it because it's part of the idea. They want it to be a true detective style type of like series, but with
Hmm.
Green Lanterns. And the concept sounds great, but if this is supposed to be all interwoven into the DCU, it's such a drastic contrast to what we saw in the
Yeah.
in the
And Buck.
movies.
Yeah, with James Gunn.
So, I mean, so that's the part I guess that's throwing me off for
Hmm.
sure. And outside of that, I mean, the trailer itself, I think it's good because it's really, taking from the aspect of like, the passing of the torch, so to speak, from the reluctant, hero in Hal
Hmm.
and moving over to, to John Stewart. I mean, to Stewart. So my thing is that it would have helped with a costume, to be
Yep.
honest. And to be honest, when you see him fly off into the air, no green hue because it's not like they could fly on themselves by themselves. They use the ring.
Yes.
There's no indication. Yeah, there's no indication that their ring is projecting anything. So is this going to be something where it's like, does the series, tell you that their projections are like, I don't know, we really don't see it the way we're kind of used to.
No.
And if
No.
that's the case, then yeah, you're gonna have some pissed off DC fans because it's not what we really want. I mean, the concept again is great, but you got to give us source material stuff.
Yeah. And the complaints were coming in to HBO, according to reports. They were coming in fast and furious about this. And Dave, what did you think about the Lanterns trailer? And you have any problems with the costume?
I don't have any problems with the costume, but it does look like they went next door and borrowed one of Legolas's old uniforms from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can see it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jeez.
But yeah, so like to Rob's point, and Joe, you and I talked about this. Like we saw the overall concept of a lantern in Superman, and no one really had anything to say about that. But yes, we did get the haircut and we got the ring, so we got to see things. So I also won't put past them just taking some CG stuff out of the trailer, like they did with Spider-Man, right? When everyone knew that all three Spider-Men were slowly going in to attack all the villains in the No Way Home trailer, they were taken out. So there is a chance that in the show when Hal takes off, he will actually have the green aura around him. It would make sense if it did. If it doesn't, do I care? I mean, if the show itself is good, not really, but I'm afraid there's going to be a lot of negative stuff surrounding this, surrounding the show right now, unless they give us some more looks that are more lantern centric, in the coming weeks. Because right now it kind of looks like True Detective meets X-Files meets Breaking Bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I do like the training aspect, and maybe that's kind of the reason we're seeing it as we're seeing it, because even when they're in the car, he's like, "Hey, buddy, listen, you are not ready to wear the ring until the ring tells you." So, like, he's trying to get whatever skill set he needs to get John to have before. He doesn't want to have it just be like, "Well, here's the ring, and this is all I do." So I can kind of get behind that a little bit. And again, I don't know how many episodes this is going to be. Like, everything we saw could have been like the first 2 to 3 episodes out of an 8-episode series arc. So I'll reserve judgment until we get either another look or it actually hits. But it's August, but no definitive.
Late August. Yeah, late August it hits. And like I said, I thought the same thing. I'm not going to reserve, my judgment, because I've heard that possibly the costume is something that's in the beginning, and John Stewart's the one who says, that's an old costume. and he changes it to something he likes. That's what I heard possibly might happen. I don't know. I reserve judgment, like you said, to see the whole show. But right now, what they've shown us, it doesn't feel like James Gunn, and it's not really what I was expecting from Lanterns itself.
Yeah, because James Gunn gives us pretty much like his vision of everything we've seen on the pages. So even if it doesn't look exactly like it, like it's the color palette there, like it's in your face. So maybe we'll get something different. And of course, even though Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern was a big steaming turd, like everyone remembers, like he's got the big green suit on.
Yes, 100%. I think the guy's name is James Hawks. That's actually directing the first 2 episodes. I think it's supposed to be like a 9-episode deal or whatever, but I'm not really sure.
Sounds right.
In 9 episodes. But for right now, I'm going to watch it, but I don't know what to expect right now. But I'm not happy with it. So,
You didn't see an actual lantern though. Like that was cool.
Yes, you did see a lantern. Yes, you did see a lantern.
Yes, you did see the lantern, and I don't know, man.
Wasn't that brown too? That was brown, I think, too. I couldn't even tell if it was green. I don't remember. It was like brown lanterns. Ship brown lanterns. That's the whole name of the show.
Yes.
Because we got nothing green, not even a tree. We didn't even see a tree in the goddamn trailer.
No, they're in the desert. Somewhere in Arizona or something.
Yeah. I would have never thought that. Like you said, Dave put it perfectly. X-Files meets Breaking Bad.
That's scary spot on.
Yeah, scary spot on. Well, we'll wait and see. It comes out late August. So Green Lanterns, we'll wait and see. All right, guys, we're going to answer a couple questions that came in. All right. And the first one I got here is Chris from New York City. He says, who do you guys consider the weakest Avenger in the MCU? Weakest Avenger in the MCU.
Black Widow. She's dead.
She did not make it.
Hawkeye. Hawkeye's pretty weak.
Well, yeah, but when you put it that way, the hell, she's the only one that didn't make it through the first saga.
Yeah,
Weak sauce.
I mean, it is a joke, but they wouldn't have gotten the Soul Stone without her. So like, let's not diminish that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's talk about strength, like versus weak, right? I mean, honestly, none of them are really weak. It's just that their strengths are so specific. And even just in that joke, I was along with the joke and stuff, but part of like Black Widow's strength, her power is her unbreakable will. You can't break her, and the only reason why she died is because she chose to do that, and she kicked Hawkeye's ass on the way down. So
yeah. You ever seen
she didn't knock the haircut off him in the fight?
No. You ever seen the Saturday Night Live one where Jeremy Renner is Hawkeye and he's like, I'm out of arrows when he's out of arrows?
Yeah.
And they're like, you only brought 10 arrows? And he's like,
I remember that.
100 people. He's like, I killed 10 people and now I'm out of arrows. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Hawkeye, I think. I don't know. Good question, though. Thank you. This one is from Larry T. from Edison, New Jersey. It says, Mr. Rob, is there a certain screenwriter who you would say your work mimics when you write? Is there someone you follow?
Oh, wow. Well, I think if you've been following the show, I think you kind of might really guess this, but it's Guillermo del Toro. His style is so, it's so humanizing in a way in everything he does. When you think about his movies, every single character is, it's like he makes it to a point where it's like when they talk, they reflect, who that person is or their personality. Every single person that has, because when you think about screenwriting, you think about your dialogue, your action, whatever. But he just makes it a point where in that writing, that person is so relatable. Like you've seen this person, this person before, and that's what kind of gravitates you, and that's what gets you invested. And that's you throw in all the fantasy, the horror, whatever the movie is about, and you care about these characters. So that's really been my thing because, and part of the reason why I enjoy horror is because it's a test of how I could develop and write my characters and their dialogue. Can I make you care about them enough that you are scared for their lives or care about how they're going to overcome this stuff? So Guillermo is a master, and he's. I look up to him a lot and his screenwriting. I've read a few of his scripts. Incredible stuff.
Okay, cool. This next one says, Bill, And he says, Dave, as a GB fan myself, honestly, none of the ghosts are really terrifying. The next movie needs a powerful, scary, and deadly villain. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree. I mean, listen, there's people who still get a jump scare from the librarian scene in the first one if they've never seen it. Like the designs in the first movie are very good, but let's not forget it's still designed to be a comedy first. Like they were blending more sci-fi and comedy than horror.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's probably been a few fan fictions or fan films that have been made that have been scarier, and I think you run the risk of drawing in a whole crop of new fans if you can still make it a little bit scarier.
Yeah,
still sometimes maintain a little bit of the comedy. That's not a terrible idea. But but I also don't think we need. So someone I was having this conversation with, they were like, we don't really need, if we got another movie or even a show, we don't really need a world-ending event, I don't think, because we've gotten ghosts and whatever. I would love if we got like a psychological edge to it. So I don't know if you guys remember when they had the Boogeyman episodes in the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of had to think around how they caught ghosts, because technically he wasn't a ghost. I think he was a poltergeist or something like that. So it's a different way of attacking the same problem. And I think if they decided to go some of those routes, I think they'd have some pretty decent results.
Okay, sounds cool. All right. Ben M from East Orange, New Jersey says, Dave, is there a type of music you prefer to play on your guitar?
Yeah, the stuff I can actually play that isn't too hard.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I play mostly like hard rock, metal stuff. I used to be big into the instrumental guitar players, and I developed a lot of my chops doing that in like the early 90s and recording myself and playing. So it's definitely still has its like places, and you can hear the flavorings in like the stuff I write, but it's mostly just real riff based heavy rock.
Okay. All right. Nelson Z from PA says, Rob, I'm a struggling screenwriter, and maybe it's because I have a story that may be controversial. Any advice on writing something risky?
Go for it. Yeah, no. You gotta, what was it? It's to quote, a great song, but scared money doesn't make money. That's the best way I could put that, because controversial. You got to remember, or at least understand, that there are a lot of movies out there. Not just in the American market, but in international markets. And if you go and take a look at some of these international movies that get word or fame over here, I would argue 9 times out of 10 they are very controversial movies. Like I'll give you a horror example. I don't know if you heard of a Serbian film. I would not recommend anyone that has a weak constitution, in any case, to watch that movie. But that movie got made. And anyone that's seen it will know what I'm talking about. It is a hard watch. So that movie is known. Now it's actually infamous. So that's a very extreme example, but the point is still the same, that if you got something that's risky, controversial, anything like that, go for it. Because honestly, if you're not going to do something like that, then you're writing safe, and nobody wants safe. We're in a time of an age where movies where it's like it's just repeated stuff over and over again. Give us something, shock us, try to do something so that we want to see more of what you got. So no, don't be afraid of that. If anything, that could be your ticket to really breaking in.
Okay. And last question here is Nestor T, and he says, not sure, guys. If you heard, Arnold told reporters he may be coming back as Conan and John Matrix from Commando. That sounds pretty cool.
At the same time?
I don't know. I think different movies, but I'm going to be honest with you. If he comes back as Conan, I don't think there's an interest in it, to be honest with you. Because if you look at his last 10 years of movies or whatever he's done, they haven't made money, and no one really is going to go see him. So I don't think there's going to be an interest in him come back as Conan.
Give me John Matrix, and I'll jump right in. And I'm sorry, I think Commando is an awesome freaking film, and just an opportunity for him to give one-liners, all over and over. That's old style Arnold. And if he gives us something like that as like a callback to where he was, doing stuff like that in like Running Man and whatever, all those quotable freaking lines of his, his delivery, yeah. I'm just maybe just speaking for myself, but he comes back at John Matrix and Commando 2. Yeah, I'm in.
I like Commando.
I think Arnold has the potential to maybe revisit some old roles, but I don't have a desire to see him in a lot of like revamped stuff from the past, just because I just like Arnold for who he is now. Like, give me some commentary on current bodybuilders, or commentary on the the industry now, or like get together with Robert Patrick and talk about how cool it was to make T2 like 35 years ago. Like, I'm fine with that. Like, if for him to have to come back to do something like this, the writing has to be mwah, and we know that most likely isn't going to happen. They just want to get a name out there and a product on the screen. But And listen, to go back to the question that Rob just answered about taking risk. One thing I say when people are writing things, whether you're like a screenwriter or you're an author or just you're writing an article, like the best way to reach nobody is to write for everybody.
Okay, that's a good point.
100%.
So that dude needs whatever risk or big swing he wants to take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way,
audience will be there.
Yeah. When we're talking about Arnold, if he does this, he'd be about 80 when this came out, and I just don't think look at Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. I just don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, I had such high hopes for Indy, and I'm like, it wasn't. It was fine. It was so fine. I think it was better than Crystal Skull, which isn't really saying a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's because like Shia LaBeouf didn't ruin it, but
but you could even see when Indy's fighting as his old age, it's not the same. You're like, whoa, he's not the same person he once was. He's 80.
I don't know. I just loved him in anything that made him, he could be comedic. And I guess that's what my thing with Commandos, particularly that movie. Aside from just the cheesy '80s action, I mean, the comedy there is just like, oh my god, cringy at the same time. Just like it's hilarious. You watch that movie. I'm sorry, I know if I watch that movie now, I am laughing my ass off through half that movie, and it's all because of Arnold. If you could do something like that in a Commando style, I don't know, maybe a movie that just doesn't take itself too seriously, I think it'd be a good opportunity for him.
Yeah, remember when he killed the guy in the plane?
The Terminator documentary where he's talking about the Terminator and how he's like, originally OJ was considered for the part, but he wasn't chosen because no one could see him as a killing machine. And then the crew starts laughing. He's like, yeah. He can still deliver stuff.
Yes.
You let him do whatever he wants to do, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was a talk of him doing a twins movie, triplets with Eddie Murphy as one. Did you hear about that? Eddie Murphy is going to be Danny DeVito, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Eddie Murphy was going to be the third missing brother. Apparently, it's going to be called Triplets, a sequel to Twins. And I could have been pretty funny. Who knows?
That might have been good. But that was originally talked about way back when.
Back then it would be perfect.
I really think you would need Ivan Reitman to do that.
Yes.
And could Jason do it? I mean, maybe. I don't think he'd have any interest in doing it whatsoever.
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't see that.
No, probably not. All right, guys. That's all I got this week. I'm going to have to run. But again, we'll see you guys next week. Like and subscribe. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys. You got it.
Started from nothing. Jersey streets, we owned it. Jay-Z pumping iron. Body builder coding. Hands on the course.